What's up, y'all? This is Daryl D. Welcome back. This, unfortunately, is one of those videos that I would have preferred to not make. But I just want to send some love out there and some acknowledgement to some people that have passed on lately. It's been a heck of a year for me. I know it's probably been a heck of a year for a lot of you guys. Seems like we're losing people left and right, and I could make a video that's 2 hours long talking about everybody, but I'm just gonna talk about some people that were close to me, and then just some people that need some acknowledgement. Um, I'm just gonna do a little work while we talk here, so don't mind that. But anyway, um, where should I start? I want to start with a good buddy of mine, John Cooser, aka Kid Millions. Kid Millions, you know, he's from my hometown of Milwaukee, and he is just like Mr. Milwaukee. I mean, the guy, outside of being a good friend, he was a MC, a producer, record collector, record dealer, record label owner, and just an all-around nice guy. His record label was called Dope Folks Records. Yes, that Dope Folks Records, where he put out a lot of forgotten, a lot of rare, a lot of reissued um, underground rap music from back in the day. Unreleased songs, promos, demos. He would put all of that stuff out. Just check out his website. That's still up. Just go check out dopefolks.com. A lot of you guys worldwide know exactly who I'm talking about. John, I met John the first time I like really met John was after I was going home for a visit, because I moved out to Phoenix from Milwaukee back in '98. So at some point years later, I'm back home for a visit, and there was a record store in the east side called Lotus Land. Now, a lot of people back home, they know exactly what I'm talking about, but for you guys, there's a store called Lotus Land. It was, I found out later that it was a business, and it was co-owned by John, Tom Noble, and Andy Noble. And I went in there, and I just hear some guy says, Daryl D. And I turn around, and it was John. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know him, but he apparently knew me. So I was just like, hey, what's up? You know, it's not uncommon, and it wasn't uncommon for people that I didn't know or didn't recognize to recognize me somewhere, because I DJ'd at a lot of places, a lot of clubs, a lot of, spots, and I did all kinds of music. I was also a mobile DJ, so it was never uncommon for me to be recognized out in public. Anyway, I don't recall if it was that particular trip, but eventually, I kind of found out how John knew me. Now, I had a buddy, his name was Ben, and Ben was from New York, and Ben was going to school at one of the colleges there in Milwaukee, and he was also training for the Olympics. So, and we all lived on the east side. So somebody that Ben knew, who knew John, and then I was a buddy of Jim. So we ended up in some of the same circles a lot of times. And I didn't know, these guys. Your homeboy shows up with 3 or 4 other homeboys, or stuff like that. So we ended up being in these circles, and apparently John remembered me from, from one of these gatherings, or maybe we met up at a club. I don't recall exactly, but John knew me. As the years went by, me and John got tighter and tighter and tighter, and it got to the point where John just became like the go-to person for me when I had a question about a lot of different music, especially like he was finding him and Tom, Andy, all those guys were finding all of these old Milwaukee rap records. They were finding records in general, but most of those old records I had bought, but there were a hand few. Am I saying that right? Anyway, that I didn't have. So John, would always look out for me, or he would tell me when something popped up that maybe I didn't know about, and um, we was just tight. I started my label, I think a few years before he did, and then when he started Dope Folks, and he had a few labels too. When he started Dope Folks, it just man, he was doing releases after releases after he released well over 100 records. I'm not sure exactly how many, but it was over 100. And I know myself, I think I only released maybe a dozen or something like that on the label that I had. So it was cool to just see him take off and his records be sold all over the world. Um, when I would go home, because John eventually they eventually closed Lotus Land down, and then John was selling records out of his crib. So that would be like one of my main stops whenever I would go home for a visit, is to go by, his crib and, pick up some records over there. And eventually he had started. I found out that he started just a little bit. He started doing the Airbnb thing. So since I was going home, I would, throw some business his way. He would never charge me, but I give him some money anyway. But he would always say, "No, man, you can stay, no biggie," or whatever. And the last time I was in Milwaukee was this past January, because we were all meeting up to celebrate the life of another fallen homie, my man Twan Mack. And Twan was a part of the group Kali Tribe. I've spoken about them on this channel more than once. And just an old school underground Milwaukee rap group from the early 90s, if I'm not mistaken. They were, am I saying this right? They were the first group, not on a major label, to be on, was it MTV or BET, one of those channels, because they had a video for one of their songs, and so they aired it on there, which was pretty cool. So yeah, John was the one that called me and told me that Twan Mack had passed away. And so I came in town. I wasn't even there for 24 hours, but I came in to celebrate Twan Mack, and ran into a whole bunch of people that I hadn't seen in years. It was bittersweet. And then maybe, I think a few months after that, was probably, man, yeah, it had to have been at least 3-4 months after that, maybe a little longer, was the last time I spoke to John. And he was just calling me, asking me about some business that he quite possibly, needed to tend to out here on the West Coast. So I think it was maybe 3 months after that I found out about his passing. Oh man, that was hard. That was a hard one. One of the hardest passings I ever had to deal with. It was bad for the whole city, man. It was just terrible. Anyway, I'm still dealing with that, and a lot of stuff don't make sense. I just can't believe he's gone. I just can't believe that he's gone. And man, he was a good guy. He was a really good guy. Ask anybody that knew him. He wore, Milwaukee like a suit. And it was just, he's a good dude, a really good dude. I miss him a lot already. And hey, man, rest in peace. I hope we get to see each other again one day. Um, let's see. I have another buddy I want to talk about. My man Marco from right here in Phoenix, Arizona. Marco was an artist. Some of you might know him as Dr. Nuse. My Puerto Rican brother, man, he sold art. He was a painter and artist. He sold art all over the world. Man, he had clients all over the world. Great, great guy. I first met him not too long after I moved out here, maybe a year or two after I moved out here. Now, Marco and his girlfriend Angie, they made their living by flipping and by selling art. That's what they would do. He would make art, he would sell it, and then they would hit up thrift stores and different estate sales, and they would just flip stuff. They would flip a lot of clothing, toys. Marco's home was always, he lived in like a 4-bedroom house with a, I don't know how you explain it, but he would have stuff in each room of his house that he was selling. I bought so much stuff from Marco over the years, so many collectibles that I've shared with you guys. And, it used to blow me away because I didn't know how he made money, because he would always just charge me next to nothing on some of the stuff that he found. I got such great stuff from him. And he would just bounce around, finding different things, and stuff would sell. He did a lot of business with the Japanese, and he'd be like, oh man, right now they're on champion t-shirts. They want that. Right now they won Chuck Taylor All-Stars. That's what they wanted. Oh, now they want this or whatever. And he has some pretty clientele. And I remember there was this one guy, this was some years back, where he told him, I guess he would just buy everything Marco had just so that nobody else would get it. And then that went on to, he came down to like 2 clients he had, and they bought everything. And this guy had an eye for finding valuables out there in the wild. I don't know how he did it, but he could sell sand to someone who lived in the desert for a large, large price. I don't know how he did it, but the guy made some money flipping, and he made some money with his art. And he would do things like, I remember one time, this was years back, where he took a bunch of vinyl records and he painted on them. He'd have like 30 or 40 of them, and he'd paint on each one this cool character. Check out his art. He's got a very, very eccentric style. The way he would create characters and whatnot. And he painted on all of them, and then he put all of them on eBay. And he ran an auction, just one auction. He started everything at $9.99. And so they would sell anywhere from $10 a piece all the way up to $300-400 a piece. It would just be all over the place. And he was one, his art, he would put out art like it was on an assembly line. He wasn't one of these, artists that took forever and then that wanted, a zillion dollars for something that, he made his money. He sold some very expensive art, don't get me wrong. But he would also put the cheap art out there on these auctions back in the day, and then he would just let it go. But he just kept getting bigger and bigger as the years went by. And man, I know he had some health issues. I remember him being in a car accident, some years back, and so I'm not exactly sure where things went left, but they did. And so that's another one that, he's like a brother. you know. And I want to say rest in peace to my man Marco. I'm gonna miss you, buddy. I'm gonna miss you. Um, then, I just found out today that Ace Frehley from Kiss passed away. Um, I was absolutely a Kiss fan, not so much for the music, but pretty much for like the makeup, the whole thing. As a kid, I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. Now, I spent 10 years of my childhood living down south in Mississippi. And we lived in Jackson, for a while. And for some reason, don't ask me why, when cable TV, this is a long time ago. So when cable TV first got to Jackson, Mississippi, our neighborhood was the first neighborhood in all of the city to get cable television. I kid you not. So I remember back then, cable TV didn't come on until 5 o'clock in the evening. And then it would go off at like midnight. No, am I saying that right? No, I take that. I think it came on at noon, but at 5 o'clock, what happened at, something happened at 5 o'clock. I can't remember. Anyway, no, I take that back. It did. It came on at 5 o'clock and it would go from 5 to like midnight, 1 in the morning. Anyway, they would have these little preview books, these little pamphlets that would, it was like a TV guide for HBO. And I remember looking at it and then seeing this, that they were going to be showing a Kiss concert, like a live concert. And, back then they would tell you all through the month what shows were going to air on what days. So, that's where 5 came in. It was on Channel 5. That's what it was. It was on Channel 5, and it came on at noon. And I remember my parents telling me that we could not watch it unless we got their permission first, because that was the they, at nighttime, late at night, they would show nudity. And I guess my parents knew that. We didn't know that. So they were like, you can't, watch that unless you, ask our permission. And if we're flipping through the channels, we're supposed to go right past it. So anyway, I remember just trying to sneak and watch those Kiss concerts whenever they might be on TV or something. And I would catch it as much as I could. Now, I went to a school called Powell Elementary in Jackson, and I had a classmate. He wasn't a classmate, but it was weird because there was a new school being built down there at the time. And for 1 year, we had to share a building with another school. So I think what happened was, it was all one school, and then this new school was being built, so they decided to split the school that we had in half. Half of the students were going to stay there, and the other half was going to go to another school in another part of the city, and then it would, both districts would grow that way. Anyway, so there was this guy, his name was Jesse Ward. Jesse Ward. And he and Jesse went to one school, I went to the other school, but we would kind of bump into each other. So we found out that we both loved Kiss. And so Jesse, we both were artists, but Jesse was like a really good artist. And we would draw, pictures of the different members of Kiss, and we would like trade pictures with each other. Man, I could not wait to get Jesse's art of Kiss. He was really good. I was alright, I guess, but Jesse was really good. Anyway, we were like, Jesse was black, so we were like the only two black guys in the whole school that liked Kiss. And he, at least at the time, much like myself, wasn't so much into the music. I mean, Rock and Roll All Night, everybody knew that song, but we didn't really know too much after that. And we certainly didn't listen to any radio that would be playing music like that. But we just loved the makeup and the costumes and all of that. And, you know, as I went into my adult years, I always wanted to check Kiss out and, you know, go to a concert. Now that but I never really got around to it. And then their very last reunion show, where it was all four original members, that I was like, this is the show I'm going to. And oh, I had some family come in from out of town when that show came to town, when it came to Phoenix, and I was just like, man, I was trying to shake, you know, just trying to get out of there, you know, with my family and go, you know, go to the show, and it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen, and I was just like, ah. And so some years later, they were touring again. It was not the four original members, so unfortunately, I never got to see them, but I did go get to see Kiss eventually. It was that tour that they did with Def Leppard, whatever year that was. I did end up buying a T-shirt, which I should have pulled out to show you guys. Anyway, I remember being ticked off because the T-shirts were so expensive. I think I spent $45 for a T-shirt, and I was ticked off because, and this was years ago, you know what I mean? So I never could afford all of that concert merchandise, and I didn't buy a ton of it. I buy more of it now than I did back then, which was very, very little. Anyway, I did get to see Kiss at least one time. I did read all of their autobiographies. Ace, you know, the stuff I read about him, you know, with his Nazi, you know, affiliation or whatever. I guess he used to collect Nazi memorabilia and say some insensitive things. And I also learned, not through his autobiography, but from some other sources, that he was a bit of a racist as well. So that kind of, you know, hit me in the gut, because that was disappointing, you know. And then Gene Simmons finding out that he's a bit of a racist as well, and that wasn't cool. That I was very disappointed, you know, disappointed in those guys when I, you know, found that kind of stuff out. I know I read Peter's book first, and then I think I read Ace, and then Gene, and then Paul last. So, yeah, you know, it was, wow. And from what I heard, I don't know how true this is, but he fell or something and hit his head, so it was just a freak accident, so he could have still been here. I just found out that Ace and Gene sold Kiss. I just saw like something about that last night. Supposedly, they sold Kiss for $350 million. Like, all right, whatever. Anyway, yeah, Ace Frehley. Wow, one of the Kiss members is gone. What a day! What a day! I used to have, you know, maybe a handful of Kiss albums, but I've been, you know, kind of purging my record collection. I'm still in the process of doing that. And some of the records I got rid of were my Kiss records. So I didn't have a lot, maybe 5 or 6. I know I had the Destroyer, the live album, I like this song off of the Elder album called I. And the reason why I kind of dug that song is because I remember Kiss performing that on one of those music shows after it came out. And I don't remember which show. It might have been Solid Gold or one of those shows that came on. And I just remember that performance. And I remember specifically this part of the performance where Ace is playing his guitar, and they're saying I and the hook, I this or I that, and I just remember him pointing to himself like, he playing it I, and then he points to himself and he starts playing again. I never forgot that. That was a long time ago. Anyway, yeah, man. Rest in peace, Ace Frehley from Kiss. And there we have it. And then, man, I could go on and on, but let me just end this by, you know, we just lost D'Angelo, and wow, man, didn't see that coming. You know, I never got to see D'Angelo live. Never got to see him live. What a voice, what a talent, what a musical, an incredible performer. You know what I mean? Just the guy just had it. He just had it. He had that gift. Been a fan of his since day one. I have most of his records. And by ending this video, I just want to show you what I have, my vinyl collection from D'Angelo. I just pulled these out there in no particular order, so I just want to show you what I have. First one I want to show you is the Lady remix there, and this has the DJ Premier remix on it that has AZ on there. I much prefer the original Lady to any of the other ones, but yeah, this is a promo too. Next one I want to show you is, oh, this is Cruising. He did the Smokey Robinson song, and I think I definitely prefer this to the Smokey Robinson version. I know you're not supposed to say that, but it's true. I do like D'Angelo's version better. Yeah, this is a promo as well. Here is, oh, and check this out. So it's got 4 different versions of Cruising on here, but it has Brown Sugar, the King Tech remix on the B side. Now, speaking of that remix, I have this white label remix of the King Tech version, a remix of Brown Sugar featuring Cool G Rap. I'm not exactly sure. This might have came out of AL3's collection, because I know I got, oh yeah, I got these two. AL3 DJ here that I bought a lot of records from. Here's a white label of She's Always in My Hair, the Prince Classic, and this version is 6 minutes and 20 seconds long. How do you like that? Now here's a good one. This is D'Angelo, Me and Those Dreamy Eyes of Mine. As cool as this record is, there's a remix on here, Def Squad remix, Eric Sermon remix, where he has Redman spitting on here. This is great. I first heard this on a Rock D mixtape, and there's a DJ Premier, did a remix on there too. So Eric Sermon, Redman, DJ Premier on here. This is that's the one you want. When I heard that on the Rock D mixtape, I went right out and found that one. Okay, here we go. This is the Brown Sugar album. This is a promo test pressing, that's right, of the Brown Sugar album. Now, what's crazy is, these came out so long ago. This first album came out so long ago, I automatically thought that I had the regular version of the Brown Sugar album. I don't, actually. I have this test pressing. And this is super rare. I don't even remember where I got that from. Here is this is like some kind of bootleg or something that's got a few different songs on here. But one of those songs, it just says Brown Sugar Unreleased Remix. So I'm not even sure how that sounds. I don't recall the last time I ever heard it. This is a great 12-inch right here. This is Left and Right, D'Angelo, featuring Method Man and Redman on here. And this was also the 12-inch that featured Untitled, which is the How Does It Feel song. So, double banger on this 12-inch. Right here, this is the one, man. This is the one. You know, it took me some years, I'm not going to say how many, but I bought this for the Untitled song because that song is a banger, and I just ignored the Method Man Redman Left and Right song on here. I just pretty much ignored that for a long time, but wow, that song is incredible as well. Here we have the regular version of the Brown Sugar 12-inch. You guys know that one. Now here's another Brown Sugar album. This one is a promo DJ copy of the double album. Get a little closer on there so you can see that. Promo all day. So I actually have two different versions of the actual first album, Brown Sugar album. I can't imagine how much the original album sounds, because the original, or the first album, when it came out on vinyl, did not have a US pressing. It had a UK pressing. So the only US pressings was this DJ version and the test pressing, which, you know, not an actual release. You guys who know records know what I'm talking about. So I got, these are probably way more rare than the actual UK version, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But I can imagine they're probably going for a pretty penny right now. And I know they reissued that. It might have been a record store day release or something, but they did reissue the Brown Sugar album some years back. Now this one is like an EP. This has Chicken Grease on it, Feel Like Making Love, and Spanish Joint. Yeah, that was me back in the day, but we're not going to discuss that. Anyway, yeah, and it got the instrumentals to all of those too. And then here we have the Voodoo album. That's OG right there. I was listening to this earlier today, and I was looking on here. Was it this one? It must have been this one. Yeah, here we go. So if you look at that, you see DJ Fashion. His stamp is on there. DJ Fashion, DJ from here in Phoenix, who I actually bought his entire record collection when he moved over to Serato years ago, and he had a bunch of his records that he actually stamped. Big ups to you, Fashion, if you happen to see this video. Fashion and AL3, like, I really bought a lot of records from those guys back in the day. But yeah, this was, I don't know, I think this might be his best album. But, I don't know, that first album is just, you know, I have more memory, more sentimental value with that first album. But this album is a classic. I mean, they're all classics, but I really love this album too. Now, this is an interesting 12-inch right here. This is the Devil's Pie 12-inch. And what I think, for me, that is significant about this album is, when this first came out, I did not like this song. This is a DJ Premier produced song. I did not like it at all. I thought it was terrible. I thought the beat was... I didn't like it at all. I didn't like anything about it. And when this came out, like, these promos... I don't think this is a promo. No, this isn't a promo. But these were everywhere. I mean, these promos were floating around everywhere back then. I must have put my hands on 12 or 15 of these back then. They were just everywhere floating around. and it didn't seem to me like people were really grabbing them like that. So I didn't care for this song at all until I heard it on the movie Belly. You know, the what was that guy's name? I can't even remember his name. The director who did that. Oh man, I can't even remember his name. You guys know, what was the director? The guy who used to do all the crazy videos, the Buster videos, all the crazy stuff. He did that movie Belly, and when I saw Belly, and then I heard this song being played, then I was like, "Yo, that song is actually kind of dope, man. That song was crazy." And that's when I started liking it. So I had to get this all over again, even though I had come across so many, on my own back in the day, and I just got rid of them, passed them, to the next person, and had to buy it, actually spend money on it, some years later after, I was feeling it after a while. That's kind of how it was with like Prince Kiss. When it first came out, I did not like that song, but after a while, I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'm digging this now," Um, and then I got it. All right, let's see where we are. This is the original version of Lady. It does have the beat mix featuring AZ. Oh, and there's a live version on here too. But I will take. This might be my favorite D'Angelo song. I will take just the regular original version of this any day of the week, opposed to any of the other remixes or anything. Yeah, this one is the one. And I got one more to show you. This is the Black Messiah album. Of course I have the Black Messiah album. I remember when this first came out. I actually, to be completely transparent, when this came out, I loved side A so much that I never made it through the rest of the album. To this day, I never made it through the rest of it. I would just play side A over and over and over again, and then eventually I put it down and didn't pick it back up. I didn't pick it back up. So on my own, don't beat me up for this, please. On my own, to this day, I've never heard this album in its entirety that I can recall. Maybe once back then. I think I heard all of it once, and I think that's when I had some company and we were all sitting around listening to it. But I didn't like hear it because my guests or whatever. But yeah, I still need to get more familiar with this album. And that's my D'Angelo vinyl collection. I hope you guys enjoyed that. What vinyl cuts do you guys have from D'Angelo? Let me know. Once again, rest in peace to all these guys. Just some things I wanted to point out, and the idea just popped in my head. I said I need to talk about some of this stuff. Kid Millions, John, really, really super difficult, to deal with. I'm still kind of dealing with that right now. And, rest in peace to Twine Mac and Ace and everybody, man. Let's all, take care of ourselves and value what we have right now. You know what I mean? Because, tomorrow's not promised. And right about now, all we got is us and God. So you guys take care, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for hanging out with me so long. And I'll see you next time on Daryl DTV. You guys stay safe. Peace and love.